Sometimes trust is broken and you have to learn to rebuild it in a relationship. Now that's just the cut and dry of it. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish at the end of the day, love would be this thing that everybody leans on and there's never any breaking and it's all good and amazing, but that's just not the way it is. In fact, I know from personal experience how dark things can get. There are intimate relationships, there are loving relationships of, we'll call it friendships, there's colleague and business relationships, there's partnership relationships, there's a lot of them. And trust can be broken in all of them. Now I have my own intimate experience with this, but I do know that if you don't find a way to love again, to open up, to let trust be built in whatever relationship is, either you need to remove the relationship from your life because it's not going to make you feel any better, or you need to find a way to rebuild it. If it's been broken, again, remove it or rebuild it. Those are your options. You can't have it floating around. You can't have it kind of in the peripheral. You remove it completely or you choose to dive in and fix that relationship. Now, when I talk to me personally, like I had this happen in my life. I have an amazing wife that I love who does some amazing things in the world. We were high school sweethearts, but there was a window of time where we were divorced for 3 years because she went and stepped away from the marriage, we'll call it. And it broke me, man. I mean, all parts of my trust and everything were shook and they were taken away to areas where I thought I could never get it back. Now, fast forward 3 years, we remarried. We're 6 years deep in a remarriage. Love her, trust her beyond what I could put into words. It's odd when I think about who she was because it's such a complete different human. I don't have these weird thoughts. And so I've got that as one area to expand upon. I also have situations where my own family has, we'll call it given me away. I've had people come hurt me. My mom gave me and my siblings away. So I didn't trust adults for a long time. I didn't want to have anybody around me. I didn't trust that they would be honest with me. And so I had this really interesting space of heart and hurt that I didn't let anybody in. So I didn't have a reason to trust any adult for a lot of years. I've had friends come into my life that I thought were great. I've given them all of my all. I opened my heart to them completely, and they've completely sabotaged me or intentionally tried to in ways that didn't quite make sense. I've had people in my business steal from me who I'd given everything to, flat out steal money from me, thousands, 5 figures from me. And I go, man, I got these things that take place in life, but I also let a lot of people into my life. There are a lot of people that still get access to me in certain ways that you wouldn't think is possible. And here's why, because I learned how to build trust in lost relationships or in a relationship that's been lost. My wife, been fixed. Situations with business partners have been rectified. Things that have taken place with my own family, rectified. You wonder why, we would go, how can you do it, Aunt? I could never be around that person. No, I get that. Like I said, remove it or rebuild it. Now, some are removed, completely removed. I will never revisit that relationship again. It needs to be that way because I don't have the intention to put the energy into a space where it's not going to be reciprocated, right? It's one part of the stage we're going to go through in a second. But then on top of that, when I choose to rebuild it, a couple things have to happen. One, I have to be willing to completely, honestly, be in the direction of being willing to forgive, willing to forgive and rebuild. If I can't forgive, I will never rebuild trust. I'm being genuine forgiveness. Like, you know what? It's okay. It's done with. Like that true, genuine forgiveness. If you can't give that, you will never get what you want in terms of trust because you'll always step into trust with this thought in the background of they might do it again and it re-angers you. So I've had situations where I've talked like my wife, I had to sit there and go, this has taken place, but you know what? I forgive you for that. I had to understand we had our own parts to play in that. That's not the video of concept for today, but do know there are spaces where I had to grow and she had to grow and she had to admit certain things. And it was a big dance, we'll call it. But in doing that, it allowed us to step into a space where I could fully forgive and she could fully forgive. And when you get to that space, now you can actually start to rebuild trust because here's the interesting thing. In a relationship that has lost trust, it wasn't a loss of trust because no one knew what to do. It's because they didn't do it. Now, why they didn't do it's a big key, right? So if you think about someone being honest, being forthright, they didn't do it for whatever reason and it just happened, right? But the idea is they know what they must do to regain trust, but do they want to do it? That's where we have problems with people rebuilding trust that's lost. It's like, hey, I want to trust you, but you keep doing things that keep breaking my trust. You keep turning your phone off, or you're calling people that you shouldn't be calling. You keep finding or hiding money, right? As a business owner, or call it a business partner. You keep lying to me about stuff, whatever it is, you keep doing this. So I can't rebuild trust. I've forgiven you, but I can't rebuild trust because you keep doing things that keep triggering me over and over again. So the idea is this person, it's not because they don't know what to do. They know what to do, but they just can't help themselves from doing it. So rebuilding lost trust is a two-way street. Both people have to choose to build. One person has to be okay with letting a person build the trust. Other person has to actually give effort to building the trust. So I've forgiven, now it's effort. Now I have to go, where's the effort going to go? If I've forgiven, we're moving forward, I'm giving effort, are you matching it? That's the other part. It's a two-way street. It's two people giving 100%, not 50% each, 100% of the effort. So for me in like my marriage, it was like, I got to show up and find a way to not hold anything over her head. I've forgiven her about that. Don't bring it up. It's one piece of it. And there's certain things I needed to help build the trust. Where are you at? What are you doing? Be honest. You could tell when someone's kind of doing some things that are wonky. And she knew previously before we got divorced what that was, but she wasn't willing to actually fix it. So she kept on doing the things she was doing. Went apart, right? But in the re-engagement, the remarriage we'll call it, it's never been an issue. Things that I wanted back then, they now happen happen now with like instinctually for her, where she's going, what she's doing. I never question anything. I literally never even think of it. And the same thing has to happen for any relationship if it's intimate. The things that somebody knows they should do, they have to do. And if you notice somebody not doing them, humongous red flag. That means that as much as you're letting them rebuild trust, they're trying to get as much trust as they can to still have freedom to do what they would do to make for distrust, we'll call it. And then where there's smoke, there's fire. If you feel it and you sense it, there's a reason. Listen to it. Now, the other side, we'll call it the trust in friendships and those who are around you. Same thing has to happen. All human relationships are built upon a level of trust. And that person's going to do things, say things, and act in certain ways that if they create a space where you can't trust them, you have to do that same thing. One of two things. You get rid of it, or you commit to getting in a situation where you can actually allow trust to be rebuilt. But like I said, it takes two people. See, in both these situations, or all the situations, I can be willing to forgive. I can be giving into the trust aspect to actually be able to make this thing work. But if I'm not being met with this energy equally, it does not rebuild. It can't rebuild. Like, it's like two people go to therapy for any reason. You can go to therapy, but if two people aren't there to actually fix it, if only one of the people is, it will never get fixed, because it takes two people every single time. And so for you, I want you to realize that it's okay that if you say, I've already forgiven and I've already put the trust in, you're not a failure. There's nothing wrong with you if the person isn't matching your energy to give you that trust. They're not matching your care. They're not matching the love you. If they're not matching you, period, it's okay. You have to step back and go, okay, this person's not matching my energy. It's time to move on. This is where you choose to cut that relationship. And here's what happens if you don't cut the relationship and you give the effort hoping they'll change, you just drain your own soul. You just do. And it's not worth it, because the amount of energy you can give to that person, I promise you can give to somebody else who will actually protect it, who will care for it, who will let you rebuild trust in an amazing way. That's why some people get into different relationships with different people, whether it's intimate or professional or whatever it is, and all of a sudden they become somebody new. They blossom, they grow. Why? Because somebody matched their energy. They might have come in with a little bit of distrust, but this person's goal is to meet them equally with energy to prove their ability to be trusted, to prove their integrity, to prove their honesty. And they don't mind doing it for you because they care for you. You know what it feels like, and you know what it doesn't feel like. But we'll sometimes trick ourselves because we desire that relationship so much that we'll let ourselves be taken advantage of simply because we desire it. And the reality is, it's draining from you. It's like a leech sucking blood all day long. So to rebuild trust, it's very straightforward. It's giving the energy to forgiving for a situation that took place. You have to start there. If you can't genuinely forgive, I don't believe it's worth the next stages. It's not worth moving on to try and build trust because you haven't yet forgiven. You're still going to hold an anger, and everything gets put through that filter. If that's happened, now your job is to go, I'm going to put forth unfiltered, unashamed, I'm going to give full, called unbridled effort and energy into fixing this. And if that energy is met, you'll find that trust gets rebuilt instinctually, unintentionally. It almost happens fluidly because you're both at the same level. If you find there's a battle, that there's tension, that there's strife in building that, once you've forgiven and you're giving energy, I mean full, be transparent, honest. If you're giving full energy towards it and it's still not being built up, it's not you. It's not you. But you got to be honest with yourself. Are you fully forgiven? Have you really given that forgiveness? And are you truly giving all you can to be able to build the trust? If you can, then it's a matter of the other person meeting you. And if they meet you, you would be incredibly surprised at how fast trust gets built again, because both parties are trying their best, absolute best, to make it work. Now, are there mess ups? Yes, it happens. Someone might unintentionally do something without thinking about it mindlessly. In that level, you must go, hey, again, give my full effort to being trusty and go, okay, I'm not going to let my mind spin off to what it might be and go, let me listen to this person and trust what this actually is. If that's the case and they can prove that, then they're going to be good. So it is a dual dance. If we're going to make mistakes, people aren't perfect, but your effort to making a trust relationship grow also comes with continuously managing yourself, not being too triggered, not going crazy, and letting things kind of glide smoothly towards a destination you both desire. If you do that properly, at some point you'll be like where I'm at in my marriage. You'll never question it. It's just dialed in. Is it work? Oh yes, it's still work, but I don't have issues with trust. And I pray that someday you don't as well. Until then, make sure you put the work in every day to make shift happen.